Today, I have with me an all-round lobster-loving superstar. Her name is Polly Lavarello. She is an evergreen scaling strategist and part-time diva helping other leading ladies grow and scale their businesses. She's the host of the Make More Money Without Selling Your Soul podcast, and she helps coaches package their genius into offers so good they sell themselves every damn day. Polly, welcome to White Hot Business.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
Now, we first connected, if you can believe it, 5 years ago now. When I
Oh
say
my
5
goodness.
years, when I say 5 years ago, what comes to your mind?
That we've only gotten hotter since then. No, 5 years. Oh my goodness. The growth on both sides. When I think about the things we were sharing at the time
Yeah.
to who we are now and to what we're doing now and to what we're experiencing now, it's just a whole different playing field, right? Like 5 years ago, I was still in a tiny flat. I'm trying to remember no, this is correct. 5 years ago, I was still in a tiny flat. I mean, this is why I just had to think about that because it feels so long ago. To kind of check in that 5 years ago, I was in this tiny flat on universal credit with two children under the age of, I think one was 3.5, one was 1.5. So both preschoolers. Kind of, a single parent. I did have a boyfriend, but he wasn't playing a big role in like the domestic stuff. So, for all intents and purposes, I was like running the game, running the show in every regard. And yeah, it was a very, very different time. Like back then, I would not imagine I would be a multi-six-figure business owner, living in a house with a lovely cat and living a way, way more comfortable life. Like back then, I was borderline burnt out. Now I'm almost embarrassed by the amount of free time I have. So yeah,
Yeah.
quite the transition.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your cat, but you didn't mention another significant change in your life, which you've been married. You've got married since then.
Yeah. That says so much about our relationship. We both have our cat as our screensaver. But yes, yeah, I did. I got married. And actually, that was its whole other journey going on alongside all of that to kind of heal from divorce, which I was very much in the trenches of healing back then. The whole thing they say that you need to be healed before you can meet your person. I massively disagree with that. Like
Yeah.
meeting my person
Yeah.
who could see me in my wholeness and still love me was one of the most healing things that has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, and because of that, we ended up getting married. So yeah, that
Yes.
happened last year.
I just love the reference of the cat before the fun. It's like priorities.
He's a big deal. I mean, he never upsets me ever. So, he's the one I have tattooed on my arm. Nobody else. The whole family are like outraged. Like, you only have the cat on your arm, Mum. I'm like, I know.
I know. It's consensual. It's a mutual relationship.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When I first met you, you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you were all in as a Facebook ads strategist I'm thinking of beginning of 2020, mid 2020. And since then, you've evolved quite a bit. Like you've really, really found all of your strengths, all of your genius, and you're now able to be incredibly precise and focused in what you do. How do Facebook ads come in to your work and your practice and what you share with your clients these days? And are you somewhat relieved that you've kind of moved the needle? I'm giving you a loaded question. Are you relieved that that's not all that you're doing anymore?
I mean, it was my survival job. So
Mm,
like when I became a single parent back in 2018, I had digital marketing experience. I'd worked in a marketing agency. And I was working with a couple of small businesses on their digital marketing. I think at the time I was actually scheduling their social media for them. So like I can't not want to say a bar below Facebook ads, but kind of was in terms of earnings. And I went to a conference, I learned about Facebook ads, and I just remember thinking, I can learn this, I can make money with this. and that will provide security for me and my family. Like, this is something people need. So that was the idea. And then I found myself, I was relying on word of mouth between 2018 to 2020. And it was only in 2020, the same year I met you, that I was like, right, I'm going all in as a personal brand, attracting clients to me, essentially doing the same work I do for my clients, but on my own business. I mean, when I talk about the layers of growth there have been for me personally across the years, like my business is like the mirror to that, like there was that sense of, when I look back to who I was in 2018, I already had so much I could have like imparted as a mentor. There was so much I could have done to support people, but I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my ability to be enough. Like, it felt quite kind of naked to just be that mentor versus having that kind of like armory in being like, I can do Facebook ads. That felt like something really easy to attach a kind of price point to. So yeah, I started out in Facebook ads, but what I quickly recognized, and I see this story all the time playing out for entrepreneurs, is that you start out in a certain way and then you identify a gap.
Yes.
And that was my case with Facebook ads. Like, I was running them for 7 figures. I mean, so it started off as you often do with the smaller jobs, the smaller coaches, the smaller clients. And as they got great results, other people heard about it. I think I was going to my mastermind going, wow, this person's just got this kind of return on their ads. And so people were paying attention. And next thing I know, it was like supporting multi-6-figure launches, 7-figure evergreen funnels, 7-figure, 8-figure coaches, which was amazing because I got to kind of see behind the scenes of all these businesses that were further advanced than mine and get a flavor of like, oh, I like that, or I'm not so keen on that, really get a sense of what do I want to grow into as a business, and getting evidence of all the ways it can go right and all the ways it can go wrong. But as I was doing that, I also just started recognizing really quickly that, having also worked in an e-commerce background where people see marketing as a non-negotiable, where you should be visible all year round, I found it really interesting that a lot of coaches just A, didn't understand that, and B, were kind of selling in a way that meant that they were closing their doors about 3/4 of the year and exhausting themselves the rest of the time. So in all of that, I started recognizing, like, why are people getting stung by Facebook ads? Why are people intimidated by Facebook ads? And I'm like, it's not the ads. Like, the ads are like the symptoms of the kind of pain. And the pain is, you don't have a good offer. You don't have a good funnel. And you're putting all your eggs in one launch basket, wanting everything to work in that one launch, rather than recognizing you can actually be making sales every day when you design your offer suite that way.
Yeah.
So that was the kind of pivot for me, where I was like, because that was the other thing, right? Like, as is often the way, I was getting it reflected to me all the time. People kept on saying, you're so much more than an ads manager. Because I would never just stand by and look at someone. I'd be like, look, if your offer's not doing anything organically, don't think that ads is going to be the magic wand.
Yes.
Or if it's only selling to people who know you and like you, then again, you're messing. And so there were so many things I was helping them identify. But it was also losing me clients, because I'd be turning people away saying, you're not ready. You're not ready. And they're like, if you can see that I'm not ready, can you help me to be ready? And then I was like, oh, okay, there's a niche here. And I found it a million times more satisfying. I'm a creative girl. I'm not a spreadsheet girl. Like, I will do the spreadsheets because they're a necessity, but I thrive with psychology. Like, I love getting inside someone's ideal client's brain and, messaging and, solving problems, seeing blind spots, seeing opportunities. That's where I thrive, not kind of looking at ROI and stacking things up like that. That kind of gets a bit boring. But that's not really answering your question. Your question was, how does it still relate to what I do now? How it relates to what I do now is I get people to the stage where they can be ads ready and give them the strategy they need to kind of get started with ads once they are ready. Because the ads bit, honestly, is the easy bit. It really, really is.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people feel intimidated by it. But actually, once you've got your funnel up and running, once you've kind of nailed your offer suite, the ads is going to feel like a walk in the park, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And if people are experiencing it the other way around, then that says to me that what they're trying to funnel people into needs a lot of work. So what you're saying is, if you do the heavy lifting on what it is that you're inviting people into, what it is that you want them to opt into or purchase, and the funnel from there, then that makes ads the easy part. But some people have had it the other way around. It's like, oh, if I do the ads, then it will build my business, but it doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah, I think the challenge is a lot of people are very short-sighted with their businesses.
Mm,
And so they'll do something like, oh, I've seen someone with a low ticket offer. I'm going to run ads to that. And what they don't recognize is they don't see the larger business model. They don't see that that low ticket offer is its own funnel into a
yeah.
signature offer that potentially is run evergreen, so is run all the time. And that's where they make their money. So a lot of the time people are seeing a tiny slither of somebody else's business going, I can replicate that. I've got something as good as that. I've got something better than that. And they're missing quite a few obvious pieces. Like one little thing I'll give away that I think is really
Please.
important for everyone to know. In this day and age where everyone's obsessed with messaging and stuff, the most successful funnels I've ever supported aren't particularly clever with their messaging. In fact, they're designed to be read by someone who's about 8 years old. So like the
Mm,
clearer and easier and more directly it solves an obvious problem, the more money you'll make. It's as simple as that.
yeah, incredible. I was privileged enough to listen to you say that on one of your podcast episodes, and it really stayed with me that simplicity wins.
Yeah.
Simplicity wins. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the work I do is simply just trying to re-educate. I mean, hence the podcast, which I really, really enjoy running. But I mean, so in this world that I inhabit and you inhabit, this kind of digital marketing world around coaches and consultants and creatives, I'm a bit of a weird anomaly in that like I'm neither super woo woo, but I'm also not like super anti woo woo either.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I'm a curious, playful human being, so
Yeah.
I will find value in things that I don't necessarily fully embrace or understand, but I will still enjoy them. And at the same time, like, I mean, I guess it's also from my background, like I studied philosophy, like at sixth form, and there was that whole sense of like, I'm interested in different ways of seeing and interpreting the world, and I'm fascinated by it. Doesn't necessarily mean I buy into it, but I am interested in it, and I can see the value in it,
Mm.
and I can see the difference it makes to what we're doing. But what I do see a lot of people doing earlier on in business, and one of the dangers, like, so please Zoom, I've got this like light coming through, like
I love it.
Jesus
Yeah,
is shining upon me
I
right
was
now, going,
just relishing in the
preach,
light. I was
preach,
going,
mother.
do I say anything?
I'm saying something right now because the light is shining in on me. But
People on
I think
YouTube are going to be so in awe of what is happening with her.
But I think, I think the whole thing that we often do in the online space is we can externalize our growth. And I think that's really dangerous. So I'm constantly trying to help people understand how brilliant they are already. Particularly with my background of 5 years ago, being this single mom, being on benefits. I mean, my kids also have additional needs. There were various challenges. I also discovered that I'm most likely ADHD. So there were all sorts of things happening all at once, throw on top of pandemic and all the other things that were happening at the time. And I still managed to make, like that first year, I didn't quite hit six figures, but I was only just shy. The following year, I went over six figures. And then the third year was a multi six-figure year. And I've never been such a mess as a human being. There was a lot of healing going on. There was a lot of kind of late drunken nights watching
Yeah.
split TV shows and crying my eyes out. Like I was not okay. And actually, it was a kind of weird symbiotic relationship where that as my business grew, I started to see something in myself that I hadn't seen before. And it was part of that kind of development and process. But it wasn't that I healed first and then my business was a mirror of that. It was something that happened very much side by side. And there can still be days where I feel a bit off and my business does well. And one of the damaging kind of messages I see in the online space is that sense of like, we've got to keep on healing. Otherwise, our business is going to be a reflection of all our flaws.
Yes. Yep.
And I find that really damaging. Or similarly, like that there is some secret spell that we need to unlock. And I think genuinely the thing that people really need to do the most is what you kind of shared, reflected back at me earlier on, is find your thing and be consistent with it. Like consistency wins. And the challenge is a lot of people get nervous just as they're about to kind of get through to the gold and then back out.
Yep.
And then wonder why it feels so hard. And then go and invest in something else that's a secret sauce and repeat and repeat. And this is something I've seen in so many people in my world, is that there are some people who are constantly investing and learning what the secret sauce is, but not getting anywhere fast.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the things that I'm like, if I can just help people understand the simple brass tacks of what it is to have a successful online business, hopefully they'll start to believe in themselves more, and actually go after those things.
Yeah. And get those really solid foundational pieces that you offer. And what I really like about you, and especially as I started to prepare for our time together today, the word that kept coming through was balance. You are so balanced. Your messaging and your offer suite is very much, it is just so perfectly balanced. And you can see that you understand the energetics of business and that you do
Mm.
understand the woo woo and that you are the embodiment of magic, but that the magic works when you've got, in your words, the brass tacks, when you've got the scaffolding there
Oh yeah,
and you
yeah,
repeat it, repeat it so that you can, again, use your word, refine it, make it
yeah.
even better. And that's where all of your incredible client testimonials, you can see that they've been through all of this processing in order to have the thing that has them feel safe, stable in their business and is repeatable.
Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. And one of my weird kind of unspoken gifts that I feel I have is that I genuinely, I mean, some woo people might kind of call this something. I don't know what the words are for this, but I genuinely do see people in their brilliance, like
Yeah.
before they've even achieved it. And people often say to me that they see that reflected in the conversations I have with them and the questions I ask them and the kind of opportunities I identify for them that they haven't yet seen for themselves because
Yeah.
they're in their own lived experience right now.
Yeah.
And I can see them in their fullness, in their most expansive state, and I can see what's possible for them. But that's not an effort for me. That is naturally how I see them. And
Yeah.
when I don't see that for someone, I will actually say, I don't think now's the right time. Here's what I'd go focus on instead. I never bring someone in who I don't feel is ready for the path of creating something like, an everyday sales offer suite. Because it does require a level of emotional resiliency as well, for sure. Who we be in our business is so, so important too. So while I say I was a wreck, that's not also to say that I wasn't working on myself. I've been supported energetically, I've been supported somatically. The somatic part actually probably I credit the largest role. Like subconscious transformation work was really eye-opening for me. It really helped me recognize where little stories were keeping me small.
Mm.
And also helped me recognize that therapy isn't the only way to alchemize old
Yes.
stories and that we can do a lot in the present, which was really refreshing. But it was the somatics when everything truly dropped in. When we talk about balance, that balance came about when I recognized, well, when I worked with a somatic coach who gradually helped me train my nervous system to feel safe having a cushy business, working less hours, receiving more money, holding that money and not just feeling the need to fritter it back out, which was my old kind of
Mm.
pattern.
Yeah.
And getting comfortable with having boundaries. I was like a real people pleaser. I mean, I don't like to use the word was because I feel like these things often stay ingrained in some way. And we've got to be, if we say was, we lose the awareness of how they may still be playing out in our system. But I'm certainly not the same level of people pleaser I used to be. So certainly like all this work that we do alongside the strategy piece is huge because you can have the vision, you can have the strategy, but if you're self-sabotaging the whole entire way, if you're doubting yourself, and that's what I see in those people who will get distracted by shiny objects, ultimately that is
Mm.
a reflection of somebody who's not in a place of self-trust.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, very much so. And still susceptible to being glamored in a way, in that
Yes.
when this thing happens, it's also
Yes.
falling in line with the when this thing happens, then.
Yes.
And this is why it hasn't happened so far because I haven't had that thing. And that's where we get to live and learn, because I think we've all had an experience of buying something that we've been glamored by in
Yeah, no,
business
of
and God,
course.
yeah. And that's a beautiful, there's always a rich learning in things, but if you're noticing that that is your patterning in business, then it's something to really be examining, because it's a way that your nervous system doesn't feel safe with having, being, and keeping something continually running. It's like I'm going to do the new thing, the new thing, the new thing. So
Yes.
there's a lot of power in being aware of that, of course, but it's more powerful when you can, when you take a new action and you stick with something and really, really, really see it through. And that's something that I've really seen you embody in all of your presence online over the last 5 years, is that you're a really good example of sticking with the path and seeing it through. And I've seen you evolve on that path over the last 5 years.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I think the important thing to say here is like, yes, I'm very attached to a certain type of business model, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm never here to persuade everyone that it's their thing. Like I know some people in their early 20s who love having the chaos of a membership and, you know, kind of having lots of I say lots of, sometimes very few low ticket payments coming through, and people who really thrive on live launching. It really works for them.
Yep.
But I think one of the things I identified is it really didn't work for me. Like I think the kind of, I don't really like to label it being like the autistic ADHD part of me, but certainly my nervous system, maybe because of all the trauma I'd been through with the divorce and moving country and being in a small flat with my two small kids, I didn't have the capacity to hold the uncertainty of launching and the energy to show up and be bright and be positive, even when there was chaos going on in my, you know, little flat. It all felt too much at the time. But what I saw around me was that for a lot of other people, it was feeling too much for them as well. They were also showing signs or feeling signs of burnout and recognizing, okay, I can do this for a year. And that's really exciting to show myself I can have a 6-figure year.
Yeah.
But what do I do beyond this? Like, I don't want to be kind of chained to live launching. And to me, it's so obvious, but to a lot of people, they don't see the whole sense of like, if you have an evergreen offer suite, a really simple one, like a 3-part, like a low ticket thing where people get a taster, a medium ticket to high ticket signature offer where people get to come in for, I don't know, like 12 weeks to 90 days where they get a kind of transformation. And then an extension offer on the other side where people get to stay for longer, so that for that person who comes in and has a taster, they don't have to keep on being distracted by all the other shiny objects because you've given them a path that they can follow where they can continue to be. And that's where the deep work happens.
Yeah.
You know, people really get the biggest transformation when they commit, even if, and I think this is a really important piece, like you're never going to find a mentor or a coach who you feel 100% alignment with. And that's the point.
Yeah.
That's where the growth happens.
Yep.
A lot of the time, the same discomfort we feel around a coach or a mentor is something that we need to have reflected back to us.
Yeah.
And that journey can be uncomfortable. There's some days where we love that and other days where we'll resent that. And again, that's part of the growth, I think, in online business. When we're growing our own business, like the first time that happens to people, they can be really shook. Like the longer you're in the game, the more you're like, oh, okay, I'm at that stage where I hate my coach. Okay. So what do I need to learn from this? Similar to like the whole earlier on stage where you're throwing your money at all the small offers. Like, yeah, it's totally a thing we do early on as, you know, as we're finding ourselves, as we're learning, okay, so I do like this, I don't like that. Like it's really natural. But there comes a phase where slow and steady genuinely wins the race. Your nervous system will thank you. Your clients will thank you. And when you get to the stage where you do have a really simple business model that anytime anyone learns about you, they can be jumping into any part. One of the reasons why I love it is I get to coach in very few hours per week. Well, I say coach, mentor. I'm not a coach, I'm a mentor. But I get to mentor in very few hours a week, which means when I do those hours, I come from an abundant space of generosity. I am in overflow. I'm so happy to be there. And in the rest of the time, like I'm able to kind of do deeper work on my business that other people most of the time don't have capacity for, developing resources and tools and cool things for my clients that so many other people are in survival mode with their business. They don't have the capacity to be an innovator at the same time. And then have wonderful conversations like this with you, you know, and not to feel overstretched.
Yeah.
So it's a really delicious way to be. But again, I guess it's that self-trust piece. It's trusting that you can build a business like that. And yeah, I think for most people, they're usually about 2 to 3 years into their business when they feel ready for something like that.
Yeah. Is that the point where people normally come to you? Are they at that around that 3-year mark and they want something similar to what you've got right now and what you've just described?
Well, you know, earlier on when you said that whole thing of believing something will feel great when you get somewhere, that's usually when they come to me. They get to the stage where they're fully booked one-to-one. They're like, oh, everyone said this would feel successful. I don't feel successful. I'm now working loads of hours. I'm now feeling tired. I can't increase my prices any further. Like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
And they're like in the perfect situation to go and create an offer suite and fill it evergreen, because if they can create the demand to be fully booked one-to-one, they can 100% transfer that demand into a group program. Or like Harriet, who we both know, she came because she was successfully live launching, but it was tiring her. And that's not how she wanted to carry on doing business. She wanted to find a way that enabled her to be in the studio and kind of building the other side of her career.
Yes.
That didn't get in the way. So that's how she kind of went down the evergreen route as well. So those are the two most common things. It's like getting off what I refer to as the live launch roller coaster, or being fully booked one-to-one. But I do also have clients who come to me who are neither of those things. They've still not got to that place of being in demand, but they can very confidently tell me about their expertise and how they help people. And that's the most important piece to me, because if you've got an expertise people are paying for and getting a great experience, but you're still in that best kept secret energy, then usually there's an opportunity there as well, where with good support and someone else's eyes on your business, that you can shape that into something where there is a demand and you can make everyday sales.
Yeah.
But if someone comes to me and they're like, I still don't really entirely know what I do. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm like, you are too soon to get, like, that's like kind of wanting to jump past the dating stage and go straight into monogamy. Like, no, honey, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Go sow your wild oats. Come back to me when you're done.
Yeah, go experiment. Like, experiment. Action will help you find that out. And then they can always return if they have that sense of
exactly, because then it feels good. I never even thought about that kind of dating monogamy analogy, but it's so accurate. Like, yeah, if you jump straight into it, you're going to resent it. You're going to feel stifled. You're going to be like, oh, but I wanted to go do that over there. The other thing I also remind people of as well, because sometimes people hear this and they can feel their body constricting. They're like, oh, one thing, one obviously. And I do like to remind them that when you look at the most successful people in the coaching industry, they are known for one thing, like Amy Porterfield and all of that lot, Marie Forleo, they all have a signature offer that they are known for. So it's totally a thing. And when you have that level of brand authority, when your personal brand is trusted like that, you totally can make moves, creative moves, or even just do stuff for the fun of it that doesn't need to work as an amazing business kind of thing, but just do it because you can enjoy it, because you've got the capacity to. So it's not one of those limiting, constricting things that you're tied into forever, but it is something that's worth focusing on, like, say, 2 to 3 years of your business to kind of get it working till it's like a well-oiled cog in your business, just working behind the scenes so that you can then think, oh, I'm going to go write that book. I'm going to go stand on that stage. I'm going to go do a podcast tour. You know, it gives you the capacity to do all those things and not look like a haggard mess by the time you get on the stage going, shit, what was I going to say?
Yeah. And feeling that your attention is split into 6 different parts. I mean, something that I'm picking up on from what you're saying is it allows you to be fully present with all that you're in. You're able to be fully present on your client calls, on your preparation, on your office suite. There's this sense of presence in everything that you're saying and feeling less split, less divided.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, it's the biggest business insurance policy, because ultimately, when you do that, you also become a master of what you're doing. So you're already very good at what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't be setting it up. But you are going to go to new levels of depth in what you do. And like I say, there's the opportunity for innovation. You know, group programs are, in the day and age we're in now, where people are getting Zoom fatigue and not wanting to spend so much time on screens and enjoying, like, you know, for example, one of the things I'm supporting my clients to do at the moment is, we already talked about creating snackable learnings, but now we're like, how can we get those audio so people can be listening to them when they're out and about, you know, looking at ways to really make learning truly accessible so that people are taking the time to listen to their kind of core curriculum outside of their coaching calls. Just like that kind of way of thinking about your business, that level of attention to detail. So many people are good at selling, but there's no substance behind it. And when you can be known to be that coach of substance, that when you go in, there is a core methodology that you are following with a curriculum you actually want to dive into that actually does get you results, as well as an amazing community. Like, community is a huge piece as well that we need to talk to as well, because at the beginning of this year, we were saying, like, and this is true, the people inside my core accelerator are the vibiest women. And I love being able to say that, because any single person that applied to join my container, I was like, but you got to know this, okay? The women inside here are vibey as hell. They are the doers. They're not just the dreamers. They are doing the thing at the same time. So if that's the kind of energy you want to jump into, and that has created the most amazing environment, the most amazing community that I know people won't want to leave anytime soon. We've already got various people extending in there because
Of course.
it's a vibe to be in that kind of space and that energy with people who move and think and be. And group programs can totally go the other way. Group programs can get a really bad name, or people can shy away from them where they haven't carefully curated the community, when they haven't thought about the culture of
Yes.
the community, and where they haven't provided clear guidelines as to how we show up in these spaces. I think that's a really overlooked thing. I think particularly in the early stages, business owners can be like, I'm just grateful to get anyone in here. And so they're not selective. They're not careful with how they kind of position things. And they don't know how to manage the space where they're constantly
Hmm.
reinforcing those values.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things essentially that can go wrong or go right with group programs. And that's why I love supporting my clients, to ensure that we're not just making sure it's shiny on the outside, but it's shiny on the inside too. And that we have fun doing it, right? Otherwise, what's the point? Like, this can all sound like a lot of work, but actually, when we're doing this from a place of just bringing the best value to our clients, it also
Yeah.
just feels so freaking rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. And so easeful as well, because what you do is you take something that's really complex or could be quite complex and you simplify it. So if
Yes.
you're simplifying, supporting your clients have that simplification and really encouraging that refinement and that repetition, then you do get to the fun point, right?
Yeah.
Like the
I love that you
deep
use the word
fun
simple.
point.
Yeah. And I love that you use the word simple, because I used to. So one of the things that gets people into my, I say group programs, it's an accelerator now. Before that, it was like a kind of hybrid mastermind. But I used to run ads, and stupidly, I don't want to use the word stupid, actually. That's a bit harsh. But I used the word easy somewhere in my marketing. I was like, it's
Yeah.
the easy way. And I was getting sales calls with people who were like, so when can I lie in my hammock and start drinking pina coladas and just let the sales come in? And I was like, not quite like that. Certainly not in the early stages. In fact, I've developed a whole language around the process of doing this. Where I'm like, the push before the cush is when we
Yes.
create those foundations. And then
Yes.
beyond the foundations, that's when it feels cushy. That's when you can
Yeah.
go for your weekly massages and hang out in hair parlors and just do whatever you want to do outside your coaching calls. But in the early stages, there is the kind of setting the foundations to allow for that. And I started using the word simple instead, because it is true that
Mm.
it is simple. And
Yeah.
when something is simple, that brings its own energy of ease and creativity and playfulness and joy, because you can play with it when you trust it's simple. I think trust is the important word
Yes.
here. But if you kind of come in for the energy of needing it to be easy, that's not the one. It's not the one. And this is the thing that when you run something for a long time, you learn. I was like, why do I keep on getting people who just want to hide away and not be visible, and they just want it to? And I'm like, oh,
Ah,
because I'm going to remove the word, and then it stopped. And then I was
yeah.
like, why do I keep on attracting really burnt out people? Oh, because I'm saying if you're feeling burnt out, you should come and change
Yes,
your business model.
yes,
I need to remove
yes.
that. And that's the beauty of depth. When we work with, the same kind of offer for a long time, we can really refine things until we get them to the stage where I'm like, oh my goodness, this container is full of vibey as heck women, where pretty much every sales call is converting, because they know the energy, they know the vibe. They know they're not going to find that anywhere else. And I'm repelling anyone who had been a bad fit with my marketing before they've even booked a call. So,
Yes,
but that was a
yes.
process.
Yeah, yeah. Words matter. Words are everything because
Yeah, they really are.
words really set up what to expect, or like you said, who you want to magnetize, what people resonate with. And if they're
Yeah.
resonating with burnt out, that's why, in all honesty, when I see lots of burnt out this, burnt out that on Instagram, I just immediately go, oh, it's like, personally, I want to work with like desire, what I want, what
Yes.
I'm moving towards. Sometimes have to wonder, because they're not my clients, I just have to wonder, when you keep using the terminology burnt out, you're exhausted, you're depleted, and all. I'm just like, who's coming into your world, and what, not
Yeah.
just, and what energy are they bringing? So I just wanted to add that piece to the conversation, because words really cast spells when it comes to who it is that you're drawing in and what it is
A
that you
hundred
have to
percent.
offer. And it's a very different thing from they come to you burnt out and they're there for the transformation to be in their radiance, But if the language is all around burnt out and staying burnt out and getting some sort of pleasure or payoff from that in your messaging, then that's going to attract the people that don't move, that want to stay in it. They're
Yes.
very
Yeah, they're identifying with their kind of victim
identifying
mentality,
it.
which
Yeah.
is like not the one. But again, I think, when we're talking about the whole journey of like from going from shiny object syndrome to similarly with messaging and all those pieces, it's a journey. And so for me, that rebrand I had end of last year now, beginning of last year, where I moved to the kind of cushy brand with the
Yeah.
pink colors
Very
and the towel on
cool.
the head. That was all very part of the process of repelling the wallflowers, repelling the people who wanted it to be
Yes.
easy,
Yeah.
repelling the people who, and removing any kind of language that, like you say, is close to burnout or anything like that. But it's interesting because even with when I run Facebook ads, for example, the AI always tries to move you towards, like I accidentally switched on some ads, not realizing I'd left an AI button on that, changed my messaging. And it literally said, like, is your coaching business about to collapse? And I would never run an ad.
Repel.
But the fact that AI is suggesting that is because there is so much messaging
Yeah.
out there saying things like that. Like, why would you want somebody to give you their money who thinks their business is about to collapse? That's not an energy to work in. It's wild. So, yes, like you say, I similarly work with people in that desire energy. That's the whole
Yeah.
idea behind the kind of shoot, and the messaging I use is like, this is an expansive way to build and grow your business and to be in your business. And it's not just about what you're building. It is about the identity up level. There is a real shift. Like, people commit to themselves in a different way. Like, one of the bits of language I used around my accelerator earlier this year was like, we are in our refinement era. And people latched onto that and they love that. And so every time they've met any kind of wobble or, a kind of something that hasn't quite worked immediately, they're just coming back with that affirmation, I'm in my refinement era. And I love that. Like, that's the energy. Yeah. It's recognized because I think the moment we recognize, like, no, not everything you're going to do is great. And that's normal. And we refine, we learn, we build, we grow. And it's the process of being in that refinement era that will get us closer to where we desire to be. And that is an empowering way, like you say, to speak to ourselves. Like, if we're not kind to ourselves on this journey, again, I think that's one of the biggest challenges we face, like just as humans in general, is that we are so used to immediate gratification, whether it's like Netflix and binging a series. We like that episode, we can now watch the next 12. Unlike when I was growing up, where you had to wait a week to find out what happened next. Or you want to order something, you can have it the next day. You can Amazon Prime it. Like, people are so used to getting like instant gratification. And so similarly with our businesses, so often we're like, oh, I posted something. Why am I not getting lots of likes? Well, I'm regularly reminding my clients, it's not about that one post. It's about your body of work. Like, there's a depth and a breadth and a maturity to how we can approach business. And when we do that, we stand head and shoulders above everyone else. And so there is a relearning for a lot of people who come into my world where I'm like, no, we're not focusing on likes or follows. Like, forget that. That stuff comes later on, but that comes from a consistency piece and a commitment to you and not about some real strategy. But yeah, that's a process for people. They don't always believe that to begin with, but they do in the end. The ones who succeed, they do.
Yeah, they do, because they're seeing the sales come in. They're seeing the sales. And that means more than a like or a follow or a share or any of the kind of digital numbers on a screen. I really want to ask you, marketing, it stays the same, but it evolves at the same time. It's just like, it's both, it's everything. I was just wondering, have you seen a way of marketing that has piqued your curiosity recently? Like, when was the last time that you can remember that you saw the way that someone was marketing their program or doing an ad? Or when was the last time you went, ooh, like, I'm curious, or that piques my interest? I'd just love to know, because you know so much about it.
I really love this question, because ultimately what I see in the marketing world and what I've seen other marketers reflect too is that it's very cyclical, because ultimately, what we're looking for with marketing is something new and fresh. Something is new and fresh, then everyone does it because it's exciting, and then it doesn't, then it's no longer new and fresh. And it's not like there's a constant new catalog of things we can bring in. So we tend to go through. So for example, at one point carousels were doing well, and then suddenly reels are doing well, and then dancing reels are doing better than face. Like every time you learn something new, like it's going to be old very quickly. And that's where I feel like the body of work piece comes in, because actually what I'm recognizing is people who commit to a distinct style, despite whatever's going on in the world, and has a balance, let's say carousels and reels, which will always in some capacity be in or be out, means that people will continue to find you because they like your voice, they trust in you. I think the biggest danger we have right now in the online business space, which actually people are seeing as the biggest opportunity, is AI. And I say that in the context that people are getting overly excited by how AI can sound like them and share opinions on their behalf. And I know from the amount of people who come to me and go, oh, actually, Polly, I decided to take the shortcut and do the AI route. Here it is. And I'm seeing so much of the same language being repeated because AI's, I mean, it's good, but it's not that good. And so what we're seeing is a lot of repetition in the social media space at the moment, which actually means a lot of people are disengaging in a way they didn't before. So for me, one of the things that's really piqued my interest is I was at a conference last year and Ryan Levesque was there, and he was talking about zigging when everyone else zags. He was the guy behind the Ask method who was all about quizzes. And I wasn't really into him then. But when I heard him talking about how he'd moved to a farm, how he was very interested in analog, how he has this like newsletter that he himself writes. He has this enormous team, but he writes his own newsletter and brings this extra level of depth. I've noticed, because I am so overwhelmed in my life with WhatsApps, with school notifications, with just all the things that life demands of me, that I'm increasingly finding myself finding 2 or 3 voices that I really like to tune into. And not even, for example, I discovered a new podcast the other day that was doing the whole diary of a CEO, like snapshot, like, you know, like the music and the kind of little kind of sound bites that are kind of a bit like, oh, what happened there? Clickbaity, I guess is the word. And I found it really overstimulating. And I was like, it's interesting to see a lot of podcasts are trying to emulate what Diary of a CEO is doing because it's so successful. But again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I can find myself being drawn to a podcast that's not doing that because I'm intelligent. I don't need to have all that stimuli at the beginning that actually is just like a soap opera. Like I'm here for grounded conversation, real conversation, real. And so, as I recognize that myself, I was like, and I think I'm seeing that a lot in other people. That's where we're seeing platforms like Substack taking off because people are craving depth. They're craving candid opinions and connection. So again, it's almost like a cycle because before 2020, we were definitely in that blogosphere where people had blogs, people loved reading blogs, people really liked long form video content. And it was in 2020 that everyone moved to like, no, we're going to say everything in 30 seconds now, 15 seconds, 4 seconds. Like it got shorter. And I think what we're seeing is a cycle where we're going back to more long form content because people are craving the human in the marketing. So I think, I guess if I were to kind of share any advice here, like, or at least what I'm seeing and what I'm well, there's 2 things I'm trying to do with my marketing right now. One, bring more of my human to my business. So there's a lot more B-roll that is authentically me going about my day-to-day business, not looking particularly glam, because while my shoot was fun, I want people to see the real me. The other thing I'm doing is I know that the way people feel these days, people are far more discerning about their investment choices. They're not going to jump in blindly like they did before. A lot of people have been burnt. So discernment is my word for 2025 in terms of what I'm looking for with how I create my marketing. So we are like really pulling back the veil on my business and bringing increasing levels of transparency, like sharing really detailed case studies as to how I support my one-to-one clients, really detailed, like details about my finances so people can understand like what money is Polly actually making? What is her actual funnel? Like I'm sharing a lot of that stuff so that people are no longer thinking, well, I don't really know what I get when I invest with Polly, but she seems cool. I don't want people saying that. I want them to be like, yeah, I saw that case study and I saw myself in it and I can see what's possible when I work with Polly. Let's go. So transparency and bringing as much human as you can. AI is a tool. I'm not saying like, you know, I think everyone should be using it, and be careful not to like kind of allow it to, but like basically it can't replace your brain. Don't even attempt to let it be you. And that's a lot of messaging I see out there is like, it can be you. It can be, and it's like, no, it can't. You are your own special sauce. Like AI is never going to get that. Remember what it can do and equally remember what it can't. Like understanding its limitations is probably more important than understanding what it can do right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You blow my mind. You've always blown my mind. And I could talk to you. I could talk to you all day. In fact, in preparing for this, like I feel like I feel like I've spent the whole day with you. It's been lovely.
I always love talking to you. I'm just, yeah, it's just so nice. I kind of feel like I want to be like throwing questions back at you, but I'll save that for the next time when you're on my
Yes, save
podcast.
that. Definitely save that. But I love what you do. I love what you stand for, Polly. I mean, we haven't even brought up this word, but integrity. I just feel you are this embodiment of integrity and presence. And as you said, like staying in the game and you see it through and you can watch the fads come and go and you can dip your toe in, but really sticking to your own lane and really staying with substance. That's what I pick up when I speak to you, when I see what you do. It really is about substance. But then you've also got this little sprinkle of the style as well, like to really, that, which brings so much of the pleasure. It brings so much of the
Thank you.
pleasure. And I remember, just to give this insight about you, I remember first seeing when you did change your branding more than a year ago. And it really was this coming out. It really was this emergence of you. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to witness. And it was just to see the pleasure and the enjoyment and the fun and the fantasy, like to see the fantasy come through as well. It was just like, oh, more of this, please, more.
Yes, fantasy. Got to bring the fantasy in.
Definitely. Like for me, it's a non-negotiable. You've got to have a drizzle of fantasy in your business. I just
Yeah,
I can't imagine not.
exactly. That's what I love about your content too.
Got to have a drizzle. Got to have a drizzle. I
It's cheeky and
have deep,
playful, I think.
yes, I have deeply enjoyed today. Where can listeners of White Hot Business find you, and how can they start to see what it is that you have to offer in your incredible office suite?
Amazing. Well, this will show my age because I mainly hang out on Instagram. That's my favorite platform of choice. And I genuinely am in my DMs. So if anyone wants to follow me over there and say hi, there's a whole bunch of highlights that introduce you to my freebies and anything else you want to know. And of course, I've got my website, pollylavarello.com. So you can check out either of those. But yeah. And of course, I've got my podcast, Make More Money Without Selling Your Soul. So you can check that out too if you want to hear more of my musings on marketing and evergreen systems and making everyday sales.
Yes. And you've got some incredible opt-ins as well, and ways that people can have a really good experience of what it is that you do and what you have to
Yes.
offer as well.
The Everyday Sales Guide is free and it
Yes.
literally breaks down the business model that you can slip into your business and start seeing those everyday sales. So, yeah, definitely. It took me a long time developing that freebie. So, get your eyeballs around it. It's
Yes.
really good.
But it does. It does. It takes to develop a really good freebie. It takes time. It takes experience to be able to encapsulate all of that wisdom and knowledge that you've gained over the years. So get on it. Get on.
Thank you so much for today. It's been really fun.